Hello everyone, this is Skadoosh, and I'm going to run through how I set up my Thinkorswim desktop application. I've had a lot of requests for specific things in the way I use Thinkorswim, so I figured it would just be easier to just make a video. I do have to start by saying I'm not a financial advisor or a professional trader, I'm just a hobbyist. If you have questions, feel free to ask me, but my advice is to reach out to the TD Ameritrade Help Desk support. They are professionals and can answer your questions you have in detail with correct information, whereas I'm just speculating on some things. Okay, let's get to it. So this is your home page. If you've never set up Thinkorswim desktop to use, this is probably the first thing you're going to see when you log in. It's kind of pre-built with some widgets based on orders you've placed and canceled, how many orders you have open, P&L, some other things. You can add widgets. I personally never use this though, so feel free to mess around with this if you like. On the left here, we have what I call a gadget window. You have your basic account information up above. I don't really have anything to show here, but as you can see, it'll show you like your option buying power, net liquidity, so forth. So this is primarily what I use for watch lists. As you can see, you can also add what they call quick charts. So you could reference something quickly. Maybe, for example, you want to keep the VIX over here, ADD. Perhaps you want to add an options chart. You can do quite a bit on the left side. We'll cover that in a minute, but I will go ahead and show you, kind of the options you have. Of course, if you're trading and everything's just going sideways, you can just play Minesweeper. Whoops, I lost. But anyway, we'll come back to this gadget. The next thing I'll talk about is navigating the application. So if you're unfamiliar with the desktop app, I'm going to show you how to get to each piece that may be relevant to you and how you trade. If you are familiar with Thinkorswim desktop, you can probably skip on ahead because this will be a little slow and boring. But the main thing is I want to call out on the top right, you've got your home screen, messages. This is like account information, updates, support. Chat rooms is something I haven't really used, but from my understanding, there's actually quite a bit of live chat rooms during market hours where certain people or traders may be discussing events or whatever. I haven't really dove into it, but I hear there's some good things in here. And then setup. We will actually be going into the setup for the application here. We will be changing some things, but we're not going to do that yet. Now to the main navigation, you've got your tabs kind of in the left middle here. Primarily, you've got monitor, trade, analyze, scan, market watch, charts, tools, education, and help. I personally only use a couple of these. For example, the monitor tab, we don't really have anything to see here yet, but if I go into on demand, this should update with some information based on trading. This may not actually update because I don't think I've done any trading on this particular virtual account. But yeah, nothing here. But we'll get back to this. But basically, the monitor tab is going to show you, how many working orders you have, how many have been filled, your P&L for the day, etc. It's got some useful information. There's also account statement. This right here is going to actually allow you to kind of look at your order history, trade history. You can even do an account summary, and you'll be able to see your liquidity and other information about your account over here. And then I don't really use FX reports. So trade tab. There's a couple different things you can use this particular tab for. A lot of people have heard about Active Trader. So this would be your Active Trader window. It defaults with a chart on the left and a Active Trader ladder on the right. So depending on what you're trading, you can chart it on the left and trade on the right. I don't actually trade from this window, but I know a few people that do. If you look on the right, you're actually going to see some tabs. These are based on the windows over here. So this is actually a chart, more or less. And on every chart, you can add things like Active Trader, time and sales. You can add L2 data. A lot of good information you can add here, but you can add this elsewhere as well. The other thing is going to be under all products. I'm going to go ahead and make red SPY. So under all products, this is where you're going to find your option chain. There's a couple other pieces of information in here, but I don't use it. The options chain is, you know, for most people I know, this is where you're going to really be if you're going to be trading SPY options or any other options. So by default, you have your list of 14 strikes. You know, you've got your in the money, out of the money. And then I've got mine set up to show gamma, delta, implied volatility, open interest, and volume. By default, though, I don't think it shows any of this. I don't know that there is a quick way for me to just, I think this might be the default right here. But if you do want to change that in the options chain under trade tab, you just click on layout, customize, and then you could add things like delta, gamma, theta, interest, volume. You can add all of those that you would like to see. And you'll probably end up with something a little like that. You've got the probability out of the money. There's a lot of cool stuff. That being said, I don't think I have my default saved. I've got the gamma, theta, delta. This is fine for now, though. I think the option chain is pretty straightforward. I won't spend too much time in here. There's also Forex Trader. It's very similar to the active trader, but this is obviously the Forex markets. You got your Euro, USD, you know, Australian USD. There's basically, this is your pairs for the Forex currency trading. I don't use this, but just know it's here. And there's also futures. And I don't know what this pairs trader is, but it's a thing. Feel free to play around. There's also the Analyze tab. There's some pretty cool stuff with this. I'm not going to go into great detail with it, but I do know, like, for example, if you were interested in buying a, let's just say a butterfly, you can also take this and actually, is it under the Analyze by default when you do that? No, there's a way that you can analyze this. Right click, analyze trade. No, it's not going to do it. You can Google more information or talk to the trading folks. Oh, it's because I'm under fundamentals. I actually want to do a risk profile. There we go. And here's the butterfly. So you can actually analyze your trades. It'll give you an idea based on your dates and so forth, like what your projected profits or losses can be over a period of time, etc. A lot of good stuff. I also don't use this, but just know it's here. I will point this out as well. Fundamentals under the Analyze tab. For example, if I switch this over to SPY, you can see like the top 20 in the list here, their weighting average inside. You can even buy and sell SPY directly from here. Just a lot of good information under here. Let's switch over to another one. ES. We can even switch to Apple. So pretty cool. The next one we'll talk about is Scan. So Scan is a cool way to, let's say you don't know exactly what you're looking for, but you got an idea based on price point or other factors. Scan is a great way to find a group of things that fit the criteria you're looking for. I personally use it for Option Hacker. So I come in here and I have a couple saved. So for example, right now I have this set to look in SPY, which is a watch list. Because you can come in here and you can say, hey, search under these equities, and you can kind of decide like, hey, all futures, Forex, NASDAQ 100. I personally created a watch list called SPY, and it just has SPY in it. So I'm searching inside of SPY for options. My criteria is all of the following must have days to expiration 0 to 2. So I'm looking for anything that has 0 days to 2 days expiration. I'm looking for anything that has a $0 bid up to $5. So basically, if you don't want to, if you would never buy an option that's over $5, then this will eliminate everything above that. So you're not wasting time skimming through things you don't want. And then I also have any of the following. Delta, I have it from 2 cents to $1.50 right now. So if I click scan, these are all the options that fit my criteria. These are all the contracts that I could buy. And the reason I do this is because when you're trading throughout the day, you have to come over to your options chain, and maybe you have to expand this to more. By the way, this is customizable. I don't recommend using all. I could say 21. So I would have to come over here and look for the strike price and the price range and the delta and everything that I'm looking for, and then either send to a color, copy, or add to a watch list, which is a bit tedious. So with scan, I created this scan here to show me what I want to see. And then I went to the top right in this little burger, not the very top one, but the next one down. And I did save scan query. You name it and then save. And then once you do that, you can actually go to your watch lists and you can set this as a watch list. So now that scan is going to populate my watch list with contracts I might be interested in buying. It saves us a ton of time. It's a lot less frustrating. This does have some quirks throughout the day. Obviously, if we're rallying up in a heavy trend or a heavy trend down, these prices will change a lot. And then sometimes this doesn't update. You'll notice like maybe you're looking for a $2 contract, but you're only seeing go up to a 1. So you can come back in here and just rescan, save the query, and then this should update. But this is what I use when choosing what options I want to trade. That's all I'm going to go through on the scan. I don't use Market Watch, and I don't really use tools, education, or help. So charts is the next area we're going to go. This is where I live and breathe inside of Thinkorswim. I trade from the flexible grid, and I do my charting from this screen right here under the charts. So by default, it keeps loading up these studies I don't really care for, but they're here. It's all good and fine. So this is your chart tab, which you can add on the right. Once again, you can actually trade from here. You've got your ladder on the right with Active Trader. You've got your chart. If you're into it, you could add level 2. You could add time and sales if you're into that. Lots of cool stuff you can do from here. But for me, I just look at charts. Now that being said, this chart is hurting my eyes. So let's remove some of this information. So these drawings, I'm just going to go to drawings, delete, actually we'll just do remove drawings, clear drawing set. And then yes. Okay. So you can see I already have an SMA on here. This is the simple moving average 200. And then I've got volume average and relative volume. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. So this little beaker glass here is the studies. You can either go to studies. I believe you can go to settings. No, that's something else. You'd have to go here, or you can right click, go to studies, edit studies. And you would just remove what you don't want. So let's go ahead and get rid of those and get a simple chart. There we go. So now we have a 5-minute chart. It has a 200 moving average on here. We're looking at the 5-minute. Let's go ahead and move to our arrow. And we're going to look. So when you're in your charting, I do want to kind of point out the drawing tools. There's options up here to go to drawings, and you can kind of build your drawing set. I'm not going to go into depth on that in this particular video, but just know you can have multiple drawing sets, and you can choose them on the bottom right down here. So for example, I have SPY POC levels. My SPY POC levels is actually just point of control based on volume profile. And then there's also, I have one for SPY trend and key levels. So I have key levels drawn out as well as trend lines. So you can have different ones for different things. Let's go back to the default. Let's go back to the 5-minute. Let's say, for example, you did want to go ahead and add a small study, 1 or 2. Let's add the 920, simple moving average. I'll go to the beaker, or right click, studies, edit studies, and then I'm going to search over here on the left. Let's look for simple moving average. So by default, it's 9. I'm just going to change this color to a yellow. Click OK, and then apply. So now I have my 9 moving average, simple moving average on my chart. Let's go back in there, type simple again, moving average, default 9. We're going to make this one blue. We're going to change it from 9 to 20. Now, there is a lot of other things in here you can look at. I recommend you do some research on these. You can, there's up signal, down signal. Some studies have different options you can use. I'm just going with the basics. I just want a blue 20 SMA and a yellow 9 SMA. So now I have my 200 SMA, 9 and 20 SMA on my chart. There are other things you can use in here as well. So for example, let's say you look up a study or you're in a group that has a bunch of custom studies and somebody gives you a study, but it's a link, it's a URL. It's probably going to take you to something like this. It's going to take you to a web page. It's going to be an interesting little URL. There is a way to do view in Thinkorswim, but every time I've tried this, I don't know why, doesn't work. I get this error. It's never worked for me. With that being said, if you go back to the web page, you just go to open manually, copy this URL. You can either click on it to copy it to your clipboard or you can copy it. Once you have that copied, you're going to go back to your Thinkorswim platform, setup, open shared item, copy that URL, and click preview. Now, this is giving an error because it's named with incorrect characters. So we're just going to call this volume pressure stacked. And then I'm just going to call this test because I already have it actually. And then you're going to click import. You'll get the item imported. But wait a minute. It's not on my chart. Where did it go? You only imported it. You haven't assigned it to a chart yet. So go back to studies. And let's type in volume. Oh, I've got a lot of volume stuff. Let's go to test. Now you can see it right here. So it is pretty important when you name your stuff, name it something relevant that you can easily find and remember, because there's a lot of studies in here that you may just lose it. I have done this multiple times. Let's go ahead and double click that, click apply. And now we have this study. Stacked volume, buyers and sellers. For every candle on the 5-minute chart, we can see the volume of the sellers and the buyers in weight. And we can see right here, we're rallying up. Buyers were in control. Sellers took control on this candle, etc. So there's actually a lot of good ways to use this particular chart. I use this, like I said, for multiple trend analysis. So if you're interested in doing so, if you go to the top right, there's this little button here, the square. You can even set up a 9x9 grid. And then you could make every single one of these SPY. And you can make every single one of these unique. So maybe you're going to do, a 5-minute trend with a 920 looking at volume. And then maybe over here, you're going to look at the daily. So we'll just get rid of all studies. And this is your daily chart. Etc. So I'm, like I said, I'm not going to go into great depth on this. I just want you to know how to have multiple charts and how to kind of configure them with some studies. I will say 2 more things about this. You'll notice I have this little window pop up. This is a middle mouse click. And these are my drawing tools. I've got everything from the pan tool, which I grab and pan the window. I can expand by date or time. Time will unlock the ability to pan fully. If you don't do that, if you don't adjust by the price, you notice how I can't bring it up. But if I do this, then I can. Lots of things in here. You've got your fib retracements. Mine is set up differently than the default, so you'd have to set that up. You can always take a drawing, right click it, edit it, and then you can change the information on the drawings. Even a support and resistance line, I can come over, right click, edit, left extension on or off, show the name, show the price, color, style. You can go into color, you can go into more. So let's say you want more transparent. You can go to HSL, turn on transparency. And then it's going to make that line more transparent. That's charting in a nutshell. This is how I have mine set up. I usually right click, maximize, and then there's a couple little buttons that pop up here. This arrow will basically take you back to the multitude of charts, and the arrows will take you through each chart one by one. But this is how I do my day-to-day trend analysis, is through the charts tab under charts. Now, let's talk about flexible grid. This is actually where I trade out of. So for me, I personally have two windows on the bottom, one on the top. These little buttons appear from this little grid button. It's a it's a 3 by 3 by 3. It's a 9 square grid. This customized grid. So as you can see, sidebars checked. That's the bar we've already talked about. So if I make this SPY, you can see the bar appears over here so that I can get level 2, active trader, whatever I want. Let's go ahead and right click on this chart. We're going to load a study, empty. We're going to go ahead and remove this. So I have mine set up like this, but then I also do brown and lilac. These are your channels. You can assign equities, contracts, and other things to these channels, and then they will populate based on those. So brown I use for calls, lilac I use for puts. So I actually get rid of the chart. I add active trader. And then depending on how you want to trade, sometimes I might actually add the chart back. And then what I will be viewing, let's go ahead and get rid of all these studies, because by default, you have, depending on the type of chart you're viewing, there may be some volume graphs. So as you can see right here, I have a contract already in here by default because I've selected it before. And what's annoying is these new charts will always have this set. So I have to come into the settings, options, uncheck show volume subgraph. You can also uncheck open interest or Theo price and click apply. For whatever reason, there's a set of charts. Every chart is different. You have your equities, you have your options, you have your futures, and you have your Forex. Everyone has volume subgraph by default. So if you don't want that there, you'll need to remove it and then click apply. This says that it affects all charting of all symbols except options, futures, and Forex. These settings affect all charting of all option symbols. This is not completely true. You see over here, if I move this chart to, let's see if it'll do it. There, you see there's volume and there is the open interest or the delta. I forget which one that is. So it doesn't really go to all. Once you get set up, you just remove those as you don't want them, you know, that's up to you. So now I have two options over here. I've got my buy, my calls and my puts. So now if I was to actually trade, I would be able to do so from this window. But let's change a couple things really quick. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. We'll get rid of this, and we'll get rid of this little chart over here. We're going to add the plus sign, and we're going to say watch list. And I'm going to make this my put scan. So when I'm trading day to day, I'm watching the chart. I also have, oh, let me turn this off. We don't care to see this anymore, right? So we'll click over here, uncheck, and now it's gone. So this is pretty much how I trade every day. Only the difference is I'm doing the 1 minute. So if I'm looking, you know, if we're over here and, you know, we double bottom and we're starting to head up and I see that, you know, we break this level over here and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get in and hopefully we'll break this level. I'll come over to my chart and I'll say, hey, I'm looking for an options contract around $100. I'll click on this one. But first, I need to assign this to brown and this to lilac. So now when I click on this, this changes. And as you can see, I still have my theta and all that other fun stuff. So once you save this, once you do this, it won't come back unless you add another chart, and then that new chart will have this information. So now I can actually see my contract price. But one thing that's interesting is, so this is at, let's make this 1 minute as well. Let's go to the end of the day. So I personally would like to know which candle is which. So when I'm looking at these, I can see what's happening. So I believe if I actually do that, if I go to, is it setup, application settings, and then no, it's actually, I think under charts, settings, down here, under the middle of the settings, under general, there is synchronized crosshairs. Click apply. So now my charts will line up if they're on the right spot. You can see. So for example, if I want to back test and look, I can say, hey, if I come over here, I wanted to know what this run up would have net me on this contract. If I would have got in on, let's say, this candle, okay, 59 cents up to 96 cents. Well, higher, but you get the gist. So this is literally how I use my Thinkorswim day to day. I'll use it more on demand in a minute. But I do want to point out one other thing. So this scan is nice. It's good. There is another way to use this. You can actually click on the place where you'd put the ticker or the contract name. You click down, go to options, type in SPY. Once you do this, it defaults and then it's there. So now if I click here, hit enter, now I have my options chain right here. I don't need any of this. In fact, I could close this, have more equity on my screen, more real estate, I guess you could say. And then I can choose my options from here. So let's say I wanted to buy a $400 contract. Boom, there we go. And now this is by default set up the same way. I've already done it, so I don't have to do it twice. I think this is even set up the same way. So this is another way I trade, is I look at the options chain through the little drop down here, and then it's real quick, switch in and out. Another thing I do want to call out before I go into on demand really quick, which will be the finale of this video, is the active trader. I don't know anyone here that's going to buy market for an option. In fact, yeah, I don't know anyone. So these are your default buttons, and unfortunately I have not found a way to make it so that there's like a default where I can come in here and say, hey, choose my default. But it's pretty easy. You just click the cogwheel on the right of the buttons. Let's get rid of buy market. I'll keep sell market. That's my emergency eject button. Cancel, I'll get rid of. I'll be adding it back in another way. Reverse, and then flatten. I don't ever have multiple strikes going at one time. I don't ever have to worry about getting out of all positions at one time. So that's why. I leave the second line alone. I'll explain why in a minute. So we have sell market. I like buy at the ask. Move that up. And then I like sell the bid. This is also an eject button, but without going market. Market sometimes is a little kinder, but if you're in a hard momentum in the opposite direction of the way you're going, sell market might hurt more than sell bid. So just keep that in mind. And then I look for cancel all. So if I have an, oops, that did not do it. Oh, why is it doing that? There we go. And then click OK. So now I've got buy the ask, sell the bid, sell market, and cancel all. So if I had an order down here ready to place and I was waiting for it to get filled and the price really started coming down and I decided I didn't want to be in it, I could just click cancel all and it'll remove all open orders. All open orders that haven't been filled. And you need to do this for both. I know it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Get rid of buy market, get rid of cancel, get rid of reverse, get rid of flatten. We'll buy the ask. Oops. Sell the bid. Oop. If I could spell, cancel all. Move this up. Now, yes, I'm sure a lot of you are like, I don't use any of these. I use different ones, etc. Set it up to how you use it. This is your platform. I'm just showing you how I use it. So another thing I like to do is I personally don't care about volume. So there's a little cogwheel next to the columns here. Click this, customize. We'll get rid of volume. I do want to see buy orders. And I care to see bid size and sell orders, ask size. So we'll leave that as is. Looks so much cleaner without that. Now, for those of you who do not care about seeing your P&L, let's say you want to know your P&L and you're a good trader, you don't struggle over emotions, you can add P&L open. And you'll get a little bar here. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. There we go. So this is pretty much exactly how mine is set up, except for I do have my watch list for options over here, although I'm starting to use this drop down. This is pretty much exactly how my setup is under the flexible grid. I've got my charts for technical analysis, my flexible grid for actual trading. And yeah, in a nutshell, this is how I use Thinkorswim desktop platform. That being said, let's go ahead and end by going into the on-demand. And let's kind of look at it going in action. So we just loaded in. It looks like the last date I selected was September 9th at 9:30 in the morning. If you see, it's already printed a chart. I printed a candle here. It's still buffering in the top left. So when you go to on-demand, you have to understand that this is loading data from the day, week, month, whatever you're looking at. You have to choose your date and your time that you want to look at, but you can go back really far on this. The system is not perfect. It can be a little buggy. It can act up and not really work well sometimes. But it is a pretty neat way to go back and back test when it works. So as we can see right now, we're looking at what, 9:30 in the morning on September 9th. And you can see the candle's not moving up. There it goes. It just moved. This can kind of happen sometimes. It does lag. When it's loaded correctly, you will get some real-time data here. But let's go ahead and look at that. So it looks like we got a green candle. I'm going to trade really risky because I don't really care. But hey, this thing's selling. So I could either put this here and say, hey, if you go up, I want to, and you could edit your order. I don't do that. I click here, auto send, and then I'll click, okay, if you get to this price, I want to buy 10. Boom, it hit my order. It filled me for 10. Now this thing's really running up. So this is the P&L on the right. I don't recommend using this. If you're having a hard time trading emotionally and you're really stuck on your P&L and you're holding too long and hoping, if you have these issues, I really don't recommend using this, but it is nice for those that want to get in and out quick and they have control over their own emotions. So as you can see, I actually clicked on the left-hand side here to get an order filled. So if this keeps going up, let's say I want to buy some more. I just bought some more. So by default, this is going to keep going or go up or down. The yellow on the left and the right kind of indicates where my position is. Let's say I want to buy some more. Let's see if it'll let me. Oh, we may be running up. Let's drag it. Oh, we're chasing now. Oh, is it going to do it? Maybe. Oh, look at that. Yep, jumped over my order. So when that happens, sometimes it's running, you just buy the ask. It should automatically fill you. So once you're in here and you're in a position, you could set a stop. You can go below your price. So right here is where I'm at. So I could go down here and set a stop. So if this thing was to go down, I'm going to lose, you know, this much money. But you can also drag your stop. So since we're really running up, let's go ahead and drag this thing up and see if we can get stopped out here. And actually, I think we bought 30. So let's do this. Let's set our stop right here. There we go. We just sold 30 contracts. So now we should not have a position open anymore. Nope. Let's see what we made. So remember the monitor tab I talked about? There was nothing there originally because, well, we did not have any orders. I was looking at an account that I've never used. So let me turn off the security here, privacy. And we can see that these are our orders that were filled. We got our in and out. And then our account summary down here. Sorry, this is the account statement. I actually want to go to activity and positions. This is what I was looking for. And then you can see your filled orders here. You can see that I bought SPY. I made $790 for 30 contracts. So you can open this up. You can see what strike price you were in, so forth. And yeah, so this is like an overview. So if I go back to charts, and it looks like we're going to go down a little bit. Maybe it's a pullback, but let's just go ahead and buy something here. Oh. Yeah, I think it's going to still go up. So let's buy calls. So we bought the ask. Now keep in mind, this is not going to be exact. The prices fluctuate highly. This is on demand. It's a little finicky. You don't really want to backtest buying calls and buying puts in here like you would live. It will not replicate that to the exact. You have to keep that in mind. This will not work the same way it would live. So just keep that in mind. Ideally, you want to just use this to replicate, but do understand that it's not going to be the same. It will be different. So it looks like we are losing money here, even though this candle is going up. But as you can see, 241, 250, it's catching up a little bit. Let's go ahead and put in a stop here. So it's running up. Let's go ahead and move to break even, and break even, we got out with break even trade. But let me go ahead and buy one more. The reason I want is you can also look at your live trade. So you can see your P&L that's open. You can see your P&L for the day growing here. So as it moves, you can monitor that here. But I also like to do this. So we'll move this up. And I like to add current account positions. So now, let me go ahead and re-add this back, watch list down here. So I have like my puts on the bottom. Sorry if you can hear the AC cut on, so it's running in the background. I think it just stopped. And then I put my SPY calls here. And you can see your P&L open over here. Also, we can click customize. You can also do P&L open and percent. And then just, I personally get rid of the symbol. I get rid of the last. Get rid of the net change, and then I click OK. So this is what I would look at right here. So we have 720 open. Let's just go ahead and get out of those positions. And there you go. We're up $13.90 for the day. I wish I could trade this normally. This would be a good day for me, being that I do not make this in a day. Not yet, but I'm getting there. Hopefully you do this well. Obviously, we were not watching the charts. We were just buying randomly. I guess you can get lucky when you're testing, but when you're really trading, it takes a bit more concentration. But yeah, I think that's it. I think I've covered all the main pieces I wanted to cover in this. There's a few ways for you to, look at your options chain throughout the day. I like to watch my open position sitting up here. That way I know there's been times I've gotten into positions and I didn't realize I was in them. And then, I get out at a loss. So by having this over here, if I think I sold all my positions, so let's say I was in 60 contracts and I sold 30 and I'm like, okay, I'm out. And then I look over here, I can see, oh crap, no, I'm still in contracts. I need to get out. So then I sell. And it's just a good way to be able to see what's happening. Cool. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Reach out to me. Yeah, I do recommend if you have detailed questions, reach out to TD Ameritrade support desk. They're amazing. You can even schedule a time to speak with them, so it can be a longer conversation, and they can actually educate you on some things if you have questions about, for example, what contracts are preferable. How do I look at Delta? How do I buy a butterfly? Things like that. They can help with all of that. Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hopefully this was informational, and yeah, you have a blessed day wherever you are. Till next time.